All right. Sounds like you're really looking to step up your spoken English game, huh?
Yeah.
Getting past that textbook stuff and into like real natural conversation. And hey, we've got your podcast script right here, all about mastering those conversational kind of like tricks of the trade, and we're going to break it all down for you.
Yeah. It's funny. A lot of folks, they get so hung up on perfect grammar, all the right fancy words, but they kind of miss that secret sauce, Like think about learning all the piano keys, but never quite getting that smooth melody flowing. Same deal with talking.
Totally. And your script, man, it nails how those teeny tiny details like contractions, chopping words down, the ups and downs of your voice, how you link sounds. It's like those things make all the difference in the world.
For sure. They're like the moves that native speakers just do without even thinking, Gives our talking that like rhythm and flavor, personality,
Okay, so let's jump right in, shall we? Your script spends a good chunk of time on contractions and reductions. What's the deal with those? Why are they so important for sounding natural?
Well, contractions like I am, can't for cannot. Those things have been shaping English for like centuries. They started out as kind of lazy shortcuts, but over time they just stuck. Now you got to use them to sound like a real person, basically.
It's wild how language does that, huh? Changes over time. So contractions, they're all about speed, keeping things snappy. But they also kind of make things more relaxed and informal, right?
Yep, you got it. Then you got reductions like gonna for going to or wanna. Instead of saying want to, it's like little sound bites, Adds to that casual, flowy feel.
It's like taking a shortcut through a sentence.
Right.
I remember when I first started with English, man, I was so worried about saying every word perfectly. I sounded like a robot, using contractions, cutting words down. Huge difference. And your script, it's got some great examples like lemmy and gimme.
Those are classics. Come on, when's the last time you heard someone actually say gimme that? In like a normal chat, we just say gimme that.
So much smoother. But isn't there like a danger of overdoing it with all this shortening and stuff? Wouldn't it sound kind of unprofessional in some situations?
You bring up a good point. It all depends. Like in a job interview, big presentation. Yeah, maybe ease up on the contractions, pronounce things clear, but even then some, like can't or won't, those are totally fine. It's all about finding the right balance.
So read the room, adjust your style, right? But for most everyday talking, contractions and reductions, those are your friends for sounding more natural, less stiff. Now your script also mentions connected speech, which sounds kind of intimidating. What's that all about?
It's actually simpler than it sounds. Connected speech is basically how we, native speakers, we link words together so everything just flows better, more efficiently. Like kind of like a dance between sounds.
So instead of what are you doing all choppy, it becomes more like what are you doing?
Exactly. Nailed it. And you mentioned, do you want to go? Instead of saying each word separately, those little connections, blend in sounds, that's what gives spoken English its groove.
I can hear how that makes it sound more musical, more like, I don't know, fluid. Any other examples that could help folks understand this better?
Sure. Like, I'm going to, we often just say, I'm gonna. Sometimes even, I'm a. Or take did you. Often comes out as dear. Small changes. But they really help connect everything, make it flow.
It's like learning the secret handshake for real English, huh? But I bet for someone just starting out, those patterns can be tough to pick up on.
It takes time, yeah. But the more you hear native speakers, the more you'll start to catch it. And don't be shy. Try it yourself. The key is to just play around with the language, have fun with it.
Okay, so we've got contractions, cutting words down, linking them up, all ways to make our spoken English smoother, faster.
Yeah.
But there's another layer to sounding natural, right? It's like the music of the language.
Oh, yeah. You're talking intonation and rhythm. Now we're getting to the good stuff, the heart of what makes English sound, dynamic, expressive.
Right. And your script, it really highlights how much these things matter. It ain't just what you say, but how you say it,
Totally. Like, think about it. You could say the word really in a bunch of different ways, each with a different vibe, different meaning.
Yeah, the script gives that classic example, really. With your voice going up at the end, that's a question. But really, flat tone, that's a statement. Crazy how a little tweak changes the whole thing.
And it's not just single words. Intonation can change the meaning of whole sentences. Like in the script, how you say, I didn't say H.E. stole it. Emphasize different words. You change what you're saying.
Intonation's like the conductor of an orchestra,
yeah.
Right? Guiding the listener through the meaning, the feelings behind the words. I remember when I was learning English, I used to talk all flat, monotone. Sounded like a robot.
Mm-hmm.
Once I started paying attention to intonation, man, that's when things got interesting.
Like unlocking a whole new level of communication. And then you got rhythm, which is all about the timing, the pacing of your words. It's what gives English that natural flow, that musicality.
I'm seeing how all these things connect now. Contractions, reductions, they help create that smoother rhythm. Intonation adds emphasis, emotion. Connected speech keeps everything flowing. It's a lot to think about though, right?
Yeah, no doubt. But don't get overwhelmed. Native speakers, we've been absorbing these patterns forever. It's not about mastering it all overnight. Just try to bring it into your speech little by little, you know?
So take it easy, be patient, and have fun with it.
Exactly. Learning a language should be an adventure, not a race.
All right, we're back. Still digging into how to make your English sound supernatural. We've talked about all sorts of stuff, like where contractions come from, how our voices go up and down, the whole rhythm thing. But now what? Like, how can someone actually practice this stuff, get it into their everyday talking?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? The good news is there are tons of ways to practice that are actually fun. Think about it. Native English is all around you. Movies, TV, podcasts, even music.
So we got to tap into that, use it all as like a learning tool. Kind of cool, like peeking behind the scenes to see how it's really done.
Exactly. Pay attention to how native speakers use all the stuff we've been talking about. And here's a tip. Don't just listen. Try to copy them. Repeat phrases. Notice how their voice changes. Experiment with different rhythms.
Kind of like shadowing, where you talk along with someone else.
Bingo! Super helpful for getting those natural patterns in your head. You can do it anywhere, anytime.
I'm already thinking of all the shows I could use, but listening and copying is one thing. Having real conversations, that's different, right?
Oh, for sure. That's where this next trick comes in. Record yourself talking. Might feel a little weird at first, but it's seriously helpful to see how you're doing.
Tried that once. It's kind of painful hearing your own voice. But yeah, you can definitely spot where you sound, not so natural.
Exactly. It gives you that honest feedback you wouldn't get otherwise. Maybe you notice you don't use contractions much, or your voice is kind of flat, or maybe you pause way too much, use, and like a whole bunch.
Wait, filler words? I thought those were bad. Shouldn't we try to, get rid of them?
Well, not so fast. Too many filler words, yeah, that can be distracting, but they actually have a purpose in natural speech. They give us time to think, gather our thoughts, show we're still part of the conversation.
Never thought of it like that. So it's about finding that sweet spot, right? Between sounding polished, but also real.
Exactly. A little, or like, can actually make you sound more natural as long as you don't go overboard. Which is why recording yourself is so good. Helps you become aware of those habits and make small changes.
Like having your own personal speech coach.
Yeah.
Right? But I gotta admit, sometimes it's a little discouraging hearing yourself and thinking, I gotta work on that.
I get it. It's easy to get hung up on trying to be perfect. But remember, the goal isn't to sound exactly like some native speaker. It's to find your own voice, Express yourself in a way that feels true to you and comfortable.
That's a good point. It's not about losing your accent, trying to be someone you're not. It's about taking what makes your speech unique and adding in those things that make English sound more natural, more fluent. So we talked about listening to native speakers, doing that shadowing thing, recording ourselves. But what about talking to actual people?
Now that's where the real magic happens. A couple of good ways to do that. One option is to find a language partner, or maybe join a conversation group.
For some folks, the idea of talking to native speakers, that could be scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any advice for getting over that fear?
I totally get it. It's normal to feel nervous when you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. But honestly, most native speakers are really cool about it. They're patient. They get that you're learning. They appreciate you trying, often happy to help.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not even the fear. It's just finding the chance to practice.
Yeah, true. Finding the right people and places is huge. If you're not sure where to start, there are tons of online language exchange things, apps that connect you with native speakers all over. Or you could look for local language cafes, conversation groups.
So be proactive. Create those opportunities to chat. And hey, even if you don't have native speakers around, you can still practice with other people learning English, right?
Definitely. The main thing is to just get talking and have fun while you're at it. Every conversation is a chance to learn something new, get better. The more you practice, the more confident and fluent you'll become.
This is awesome. We've covered so much practical stuff, from watching TV to finding language partners. Feeling inspired already.
Me too. And remember, it's a journey, not a race. always more to learn with language. But if you focus on these key things and keep practicing, you'll be surprised how far you can go.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive on sounding more natural in English. We've covered a ton, but I feel like there's got to be more, right?
Oh, absolutely. Always more to learn with language. And one thing people often kind of forget about is just observing.
Observing, like watching how native speakers actually use English out in the wild.
Exactly. Think of yourself as like a language detective. Notice how folks use words in different situations, their body language, their facial expressions, even their tone of voice, you know?
So it's not just about the words, it's like the whole package, right? How people use language to show their feelings, what they mean, even their relationship.
Got it. For example, you might notice that friends, they use more slang, more casual language with each other, but in like a work setting, people are going to be more formal, choose their words carefully.
It's like different codes for different situations, huh? And by watching how native speakers do it, you can sort of pick up on those unwritten rules and use them yourself.
That's a great way to put it. And this doesn't just mean observing in person either. You can do it with books, movies, TV shows, all that.
So it's like getting a crash course in natural English from your couch.
Exactly. Pay attention to how those characters talk, how they use language to build relationships, you know, create drama, show their personality.
Like having a front row seat to all these different ways of using language. But we can't just passively watch, right? We got to be active about it.
For sure. Take notes, write down phrases that sound interesting, then try them out in your own conversations.
So it's observe, analyze, then experiment.
Exactly. It's a back and forth thing. And the more you do it, the more you'll start to catch those little details of how native speakers really talk.
This is great stuff. Already thinking about how I can use this myself. But I think it's important to say, becoming fluent, it goes beyond just observing. You got to take that knowledge and actually use it in conversations, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And one of the best ways is to find a language partner or maybe join a conversation group.
I know that can be a big step for some people, kind of intimidating. But it's also super rewarding, don't you think?
Couldn't agree more. There's something special about connecting with someone through language, even if you make mistakes, which, hey, everyone does. It's all part of the learning process.
And I think it's worth saying native speakers, they get it. They understand you're learning. They're usually patient, happy to help.
Yeah, for the most part. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Find a partner, join a group, or even just chat with someone you meet in your daily life.
Take every chance to practice. And remember, the goal isn't to sound exactly like a native speaker. It's to find your own voice. Express yourself in a way that feels good to you.
Well said. It's all about embracing the journey, figuring out what works for you, and celebrating those little wins along the way.
Love that. Sounds like we've reached the end of our deep dive into natural English conversation.
It has been quite a journey. We've talked about all sorts of things: pronunciation, connected speech, that musicality of English. We've also explored how powerful it can be to observe and practice.
I really hope this has given everyone listening the tools and the confidence to keep working on their fluency.
Keep exploring, keep trying new things, and most importantly, have fun with it.
And that's a wrap for today. See you next time.